How many people here have written books already? Oh, this is going to be easy. How many here have been a creator for more than a year in terms of actively generating content and putting it out there for consumption? Yeah, all right, good. Well, thanks for coming to our session. Even those of you that just thought this was probably a cool place to come and check your social media, check your email, that's fine, I'm good with it. You don't have to look up here. It's probably better that you don't, but anyways. And then quick shout out to ConvertKit. The fact that they had a momentary lapse of reason and allowed me to come up here and talk to you guys is probably either really cool or really bad, but we'll find out. All right, so we're gonna talk about repurposing your content, creating streams of revenue from that, passive or active. Some people start that process and it trickles in. Others start that process and the floodgates just open. So we'll talk about all of that. So what the hell is Lulu? Yeah, spoiler alert, we don't make yoga pants. But we spend an awful lot of money on Google competing against Lululemon for those keywords of Lulu. So that's been a lot of fun. We were founded in 2002 by a gentleman named Bob Young. For those of you that don't know who Bob Young is, he was one of the original co-founders of Red Hat, which is a massive software company based in Raleigh. He started Lulu after he had a really bad publishing experience, though, and we'll get to that. We're a free-to-use publishing platform. We utilize print-on-demand technology, so everything is printed as it's ordered. Better for the environment, better for your customers, no overhead. You guys know the drill. We've had about 2.2 million creators that have used Lulu in the past 20 years to publish and or print their books. So we've had a pretty good run so far. I think we're getting a little bit closer to 2.3 at this point. So, and the best part, we have paid out almost $120 million in creator revenues as of last month. So that's you guys making all that money. We're happy to pay it out. It's fun for us, and we'll keep paying it out. We've got a couple new really cool integrations, Shopify, WooCommerce. These work really well with your existing websites. If you don't have a website, Shopify, WooCommerce, they're great tools to use to get one up and running very quickly, to have something really nice as a home base to send all of your users to get your content. Everybody has a mission. Everybody wants to talk about how great they are, what they're doing. Ours has been the same, though, since Bob started the company. We're dedicated to making the world a better place, one book at a time. It's pretty much that simple. There's a few things in there as well that we try to utilize to make that happen, but we're all about books. So, Bob Young. This is our founder. As you can see, he's still very much active. He's a big book nerd. He's a serial entrepreneur. If it weren't for Bob, none of us would be here, and we wouldn't have such a desire to empower creators like you guys to go out there and create books and make money off of them. Bob Young took Red Hat public in 1999. At the time that he did that, it was the 8th biggest first day gain in the history of Wall Street. So when that happened, you can imagine, he made a lot of money, everybody wanted to be his friend, but a lot of people were asking about his story. They wanted to hear how he got there, how he was able to take Red Hat to such a large IPO. In 1999, it was huge for a software company, especially for those of you that don't know. Red Hat is open source software, which is essentially a nice tech nerdy way of saying free. So it was one of the first companies ever to go IPO, and the software was free. You just paid for the service to support it. He had people asking him, how'd you do this? What's your story? He said, well, I'll write a book. People were asking for a book, something like that. His experience with writing that book was terrible. He was turned down left and right. The publishers that did want to work with him, it was a very long, drawn-out process that they wanted to send him through. They wanted to control the content. They wanted final say-so over the cover design. The royalty splits were obviously all over the place. He decided he was going to self-publish. That was even worse. What was out there at the time was just terrible. Most of them were scams to take money from would-be authors and leave them with basically nothing. At this point, Bob's got a lot of money. like a shit ton of money, right? Because his IPO just took off. We're talking nearing $1 billion in his bank account. He's got nothing to do now because he just sold his company. Says, well, I'll just start a company. How about that? Granddaughter, nickname Lulu. He says, oh, we'll call it Lulu. Doesn't help me and my team out. Trying to market a publishing company called Lulu was not was not the best idea in hindsight, but nonetheless, you know, Lulu, here we go. So he's got this money, he starts Lulu. He's got all this time on his hands. He says, I don't want anybody to go through this. This is ridiculous. You know, what about people that don't have the amount of money that I have or the resources I have? How do they get books published? How does their content get into the hands of the people that they want to read it? He pushed forward. That's what happened at Bob's Books. That's also what happened when I went on vacation one year. These guys thought it'd be fun to wall off my cubicle. I think Bob sold maybe about 50% of his books. The rest are part of my desk. So, yeah, don't be like Bob. All right, a little bit more about us. B Corp certified. Does anybody know what B Corp is? 1, you're fucking cool. 2, you're cool too. Don't worry about it. B Corp. Because we believe in the environment, we believe in people, we believe in leaving this place a better place than when we found it. B Corp is a certification that a business can go through. It's pretty rigorous, actually, but nonetheless, B Corps all live by certain levels of accountability, transparency. We have to publish our transparency reports every year. And as a publishing company, that's really important for us because books take trees, and you know, inherently publishing companies aren't always the most environmentally friendly, but we do everything we can to make sure that that is not the case. And so we're very proud that we're a B Corp. All right, you got a little bit of an introduction. I think introductions suck, but we're gonna do something different. Everybody played 2 Truths and a Lie? Everybody know how to play that? Somebody was nodding their head no. You gotta pick which one of these you think is a lie. The other 2 are truths, right? Anybody that thinks I've never eaten a burrito, raise your hand. Thank you. Anybody that thinks I've worked for Disney World, raise your hand. Huh. Anybody that thinks I hate ebooks, raise your hand. You guys are good. I can't stand ebooks. I did work at Disney World. That's the ugly truth. And clearly, I've eaten a burrito. I had one last night, by the way. It was really good. So that's me, 1996, working the desk at Disney World. And I definitely hate ebooks. All right. Everybody knows the term creator economy. We've all heard it 1,000 times, maybe even today. That's the big buzzword right now. Everybody wants to talk about the creator economy. How do we be a part of it? If you're a brand, as a creator, how do I get into that creator economy? How am I making some money? How am I monetizing my content? I don't want to work this 9 to 5 anymore. You know, I want to have that freedom that you've heard a lot of these other speakers talking about. That is the creator economy. So we've all heard it 1,000 times, but for now, I think we should focus on that. What does it mean? How do you become a more substantial part of that? My kids are going to be proud of that. Does anybody not know what that means? Okay, I won't say it. Signal Fire put out a really cool study recently. They did a lot of research into the creator economy and all of the creators that are in that, at least that they can get their hands on. Top 3 trends they found, some really cool stuff. Creators are moving their top fans off of social networks and onto their own websites and apps and monetization tools. This is really important. This is going to be a tone throughout this presentation and workshop, and it should be a tone throughout whatever you guys take away from here and put into your daily practice. Creators becoming founders, building out teams and assembling tools to help them start businesses while focusing on their art. Also very important if you want to make this thing full-time, if you haven't already, and you want to sustain that life that you want where you're not clocking in for a 9 to 5 and you're creating for a living. Third, creators gaining power in the media ecosystem as fans to seek content with individual personalities rather than faceless brands. I thought this was really cool, and they're one of the first ones to really kind of nail this down and put it out there in a way that makes a lot of sense for us. Signal Fire If you hadn't seen that, you can go to their blog. That research is published there. I did use several other pieces of research in this presentation, which I can make available to you if you want them afterwards, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that will not only help you understand kind of where this creator economy is at right now, but again, how you can get yourself inserted into it if you're not already, and even how to find that little niche pocket that maybe you've been looking for that you haven't been able to identify yet. So a lot of good stuff from the Tilt, Influencer Marketing Hub, even Forbes, believe it or not. A lot of good stuff out there. All right. First things first. Forbes. While the creator economy benefited hugely from the post-lockdown headwinds in 2021, some of you felt this, some of you hadn't. Some of you were probably just getting started at that time, some of you are probably just getting started now, but a lot of creators in the beginning of 2021 got that wind in their sails. So when 2020 was winding down, people were ready to get back out there. They wanted to spend money. They wanted to see what their favorite, creators or influencers were doing. A lot of people got that wind in their sails, including us. People flocked to Lulu to create content. They wanted to create passive streams of revenue or active ones because maybe they'd been laid off or maybe they quit. A lot of people were like, F this, I'm out. You start looking for ways to make money. So we even experienced a really abnormal first half of 2021. With that though, obviously, this coming year will be all about differentiating from the crowded competitive creator landscape. You got to differentiate yourself, right? Right now, everybody's jumping in and doing podcasts. Everybody's jumping in and doing self-help books or self-help podcasts or self-help videos or, whatever your chosen medium is, somebody's probably working in that space with some variation of the content that you want to do. You have to think about how you're going to differentiate yourself, and you do that through value, adding value. Don't just go out there and throw a bunch of content up on the screen hoping to acquire new followers, only they didn't rinse and repeat. We don't need any more white noise or garbage out in the market. We need value, right? This is Paul, by the way. So if you ever read any copywriting on our site, in the notebooks that you guys got, this is our senior copywriter, Paul. I'm pretty sure that was in college, by the way. Diversify and create deeper connections, right? So these are coming out of those signifier trends that I told you about. And what we get from those trends are these actionable takeaways, these things that you should be doing to help build your community, to start building these passive streams of revenue. Creators have to balance the distribution potential of certain platforms with the risk of becoming dependent on them, right? That's a big, big thing, and it's going to continue to be a big, big thing. Monetize by either earning a little off of each fan from mainstream content for a big audience, or earning a lot off of deeper connections to a smaller set of fans through niche content. That's your sweet spot, by the way. I should have highlighted it, but I didn't. And in case you haven't guessed it, I'm terrible at designing these things. Also, that's Taylor Swift, for anybody that didn't know that. Creating a deep connection with whoever this guy is. Lauren, who is that guy? This is for Lauren. Lauren. And he's who?
Her partner of like 6 or 7 years.
Well, they look like they're making a deep connection, so I liked it. I used it. But also, very important, this phrase. Creators are becoming more diversified in their revenue streams, being funded directly by their fans. That sounds way better than being reliant on YouTube, throwing those pennies at you for those ad views or some of that other sponsored content that you guys are working with. Being funded directly by fans, that sounds way better to me. And then community, right? The big piece. Creators have discovered the importance of building communities. And if you haven't already, you will. This is my community. Some of them are down here. Obviously, I'm a little grayer in there as well. That's mainly from these three. This is a very powerful phrase, I think, or a couple of sentences. Influencer Marketing Hub is a great site. But nonetheless, I think we all are piecing together here what this pattern, what these trends are telling us, right? We want to diversify our streams of revenue. We want to not be so beholden to these platforms that we're currently working on right now, at the whims of their algorithms, or, what if Elon Musk wants to buy Instagram next week? How many of you are screwed? mean, I'm not, but some of you might be. Maybe not. I think everybody should read this and understand it and let it soak in. It's 2022. The opportunities that you guys have as creators to have ownership over every aspect of your business as a creator, stem to stern, have never been more abundant. Never. Go look at any period of time in history. It's insane the amount of opportunities we have right now, and they're only getting better, right? Some of you are already involved in or know about or talking about Web3 technology, NFTs, creator tokens, things like that. This stuff is only getting better, right? And providing more and more ways for you to own your content, own where it lives, own the transactional piece of it. That's the goal. All right, so what does all this signal for creators? It's time to start diversifying your streams of revenue, obviously. You want to experiment with new platforms as best as you can. Again, we don't want to be beholden to one or two platforms and stuck at the mercy of their whims and their algorithms. We got to begin balancing quantity and quality of audiences, looking past the numbers. Let's get past this concept of how do I just get more followers? I just need more followers. I don't really care if I got to pay, $20 per 1,000, or if I can throw out some clickbait, contrarian type of content and get people over to my platform or my TikTok channel or my Twitter account, and then I'll worry about converting them later. We got to get past that. We got to create deeper connections. We need to look for ways to build more value into our offerings, create repeat engagement, right? So again, we talked about don't just create content that you think is just going to draw people there just to get them there. Create content that has value. Stop creating white noise if you're doing it. Stop now. It's not good. Those fans are not going to be lasting fans. And in fact, they're just going to go somewhere else when they realize that was what you were doing. Create value. And then, a lot of us have problems, issues with this. Some of us don't. But a really big trend right now is collaborating with other creators. There's so many people in your space that do so many wonderful things, and you're focused on one thing and they're focused on another thing. Collaborations bring in so many more fans and followers to what you're doing, and it opens up so many more opportunities for you to diversify those streams of revenue and build your community, right? So again, this is the theme, right? Build your community. Has anybody not got that yet? No? Okay. I know it's after lunch. I'm tired too. I had really good pizza, by the way, so. But Matt, I already have a community, don't I? I've got 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've got 15,000 followers on Instagram, and I've got 3,000 followers on Snapchat, and my TikTok's blowing up, dude. I already have a community, don't I? I don't know, do you? Are you building on rented land? Do you own that platform? Some of those platforms, do you even own that content once you upload it? Do you own that follower data? Do you get any identifying information from that platform about who they are? How to reach out to them above and beyond when they just show up and like a post, if you're lucky. We're building on rented land right now. And, right now, a lot of us don't have a choice to a degree. But this is your call. Anybody remember these? I don't either. I know they're still around, but let's be real. Who here uses Clubhouse? Yeah. Who here used Vine when it was around? Am I dating myself? Thank you. I'm not the only old one in here. Yeah. If you put all your eggs in that Vine basket, I felt bad for you. A lot of people didn't recover from that and learn how to switch over to other video format sites or even Instagram or some of those areas, and they just kind of faded off back into corporate sort of obscurity. But there was a lot of good content on Vine. I don't think any of those creators got the ticket with them. Followers will like you on their platform of choice, but fans will follow you to any platform you choose. Again, commit this to memory. This is one of the fundamental differences between followers and fans. One of the first things people say when they see a statement of followers versus fans, what's the difference? Don't get me started. But here's a good one, right? As you work towards ownership of your content, of your space, this is going to become even more important for you. Knowing who's going to follow you. If you show up to your platform of choice one day, hey guys, I'm doing my thing over here now. This is all 100% me, right? I own it stem to stern. It's better for me as a creator. I'm going to be able to provide more value to you. I'm going to be able to show up more authentically every single day. How many of those followers will follow you over to that platform? Probably none of them, especially if it's a new platform or something they've never heard of. Your fans will, though. They'll show up fast. All right. How do I grow my community with a book? Everybody in this room operates in the digital landscape. I think maybe 6, 7 of you raised your hands when I asked who had written a book or working on a book. Talking about physical printed products in a room of people who work in a digital landscape is sometimes a bit intimidating, right? Most people don't know the power of a book when it comes to how you can use that book as a tool to build a community, to create connections with people. Books change lives. Books are powerful. Everybody in this room has read a book. I'm certain of it. Somebody's smiling like, nah, you don't know me. Fair enough. I'm going to assume everybody in this room has read a book. Books build credibility and establish expertise, right? It's almost subconscious. If you meet somebody and they hand you a book, hey, check out my book when you get a chance. Subconsciously, you're like, man, she knows what the hell she's talking about. She has a book, right? We just assume. Half those books that some of us read in high school or college, you don't actually know who wrote those things. They could have been high on meth when they wrote that textbook. And in fact, at my college, it seemed like a lot of them were, but nonetheless, books are great at building credibility and establishing expertise, right? Handing somebody a book says, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Trust, legitimacy, these are things that are needed when you talk about building a community. Nobody's going to join your Discord or whatever other channel you're using to build your community if they don't trust that when they get in there, that they can communicate freely, that they can talk to others, that they can talk to you and not feel like an outsider, right? Communities are about belonging. So building trust and legitimacy is really easy to do when you have a book. Increase social capital, right? Books are great ways to get yourself invited onto podcasts for interviews, or some of those other YouTube channels that they interview people. When you have a book, you'd be amazed how many people come knocking once you put it out there. Like, hey, why don't you come talk on my podcast? Can we talk to you here? Can we talk to you there? So it's great social capital. It also gives you a lot of new content to post, right? Hey, I just published my book. Come check it out. We could go on and on about that, but along with social capital, collaborations start knocking, right? All of a sudden you've got a couple different people maybe you met here or there, but now they're sliding in your DMs. Man, I saw your book. That's great. Maybe we can work. Should I not say sliding in the DMs? My team's like, ooh, okay, sorry. Nonetheless, they're reaching out to you, right? They want to work with you now. Let's collaborate. I saw your book. That's sick. Okay. Increase real capital, money. You guys want to be able to live the life of a creator 100% and not have to clock in every day? Unfortunately, it takes money, right? So books create real capital, not just social capital. And again, obviously, anybody looked at the market lately, we could all use some real capital. Create a participation hub. And by the way, these things kind of follow in that notebook you got in your swag bag from us. This content is in there about how books will help you grow your community. Create a participation hub. So I've seen a lot lately of Discord groups and other places where a creator is using their book as the hub for that sort of conversation, right? So they'll start a Discord channel or something along those lines around the book they just put out, and they'll invite fans, followers, friends, come in. Let's talk about the book. I'd love to hear what you guys thought. What do you think about this concept, that concept? And before you know it, you've got tons of people chiming in and talking about the book and the different concepts in the book, whatever that book might be about. So they're great at creating participation hubs. They're great conversation starters for the digital landscape, not just IRL in real life, because there was one person that I think noted they hadn't read a book yet. But communities thrive on trust and participation. These are some of the things you need. You've got to be able to build that trust so that people will participate. A good community needs trust and participation. You don't want to show up to your community and nobody else is. You need these things. Books are great for opening up new doors. We've talked a little bit about that. You probably heard this over the last couple years, some of you, maybe not. Books are great business cards. I don't care what anybody tells you. Books are awesome business cards. I don't know about most of you, but I get a lot of business cards handed to me. Sometimes I keep them. A lot of times they go in the garbage or the recycling bin, sorry. No animal's gonna throw a book away. And even if they turn the corner when you weren't looking and went to throw it away, somebody's gonna give them a dirty look. Nobody's throwing a book away. They might take it home and throw it on the counter and not think about it for a week or two, or they might give it to somebody, but nobody throws a book away. So it's a great way to kind of break the ice. Instead of pulling out that crappy little business card that your cousin designed and it looks terrible, hand them your book. Instantly create credibility, instantly show some expertise, and out of the gate, they're already going, wow, she didn't hand me a business card. That's pretty cool. I can't throw this away, so maybe I'll read it or I'll pass it to somebody else, but either way. Again, great for opening up more opportunities, right? Books are a gateway drug. They get you into all types of things, webinars, online courses, podcast series, YouTube series. Again, there's no better way to get yourself into a situation where you can get in front of more people than you were in front of yesterday, and do the same the next day, and the same the next day. So for all the data nerds out there, not me, but some of you, I see a couple of you nodding your heads. The rest of you guys, you can skip over this. But you're going to be missing a few really cool things here. So I mentioned ConvertKit, some of the other places I'm getting some of my data. How many of you guys actually saw and read ConvertKit's State of the Creator Economy? Oh, good. For those of you that didn't, you should get your hands on it. It's very insightful, and it'll probably make you feel really good about yourself. Nonetheless, full-time creators have an average of 2.7 revenue streams. I should have just said 3. Everybody knows you round up after 5. 3 revenue streams. How many of you have more than 1 revenue stream? Good. How many of you have more than 2? Or 2 or more, sorry. How many of you have 3 or more revenue streams? You should be talking to this lady right here and this gentleman over here, right? 2.7, 3 revenue streams. 41% of creators surveyed say they plan to create a book project in 2022. Obviously, this is self-serving. I'm talking to you about books. But 41%. That's way up from 2021, where only 21% of creators said they were going to do a book. So something happened in that 12 months or 8 to 12 months, right? I think people were realizing books aren't that bad. Good way to get in there and build some more revenue and build my community up. Print book sales in the U.S. have continued to grow over the last 10 years. 825 million books sold in 2021. That is a lot of books. And for that one person out there who said they never read a book, you see a number like this and it's kind of hard to believe, but nonetheless, 825 million books sold. This is print, by the way. It's not those shitty ebooks we talked about. This is print books that people physically bought. They pulled out their wallet, contactless payment, bought a book and read it. 825 million. That's really just there for those of you that say, oh, print's dead, print's dead. It's not. It's been growing. For us, again, a little self-serving, Lulu Direct users have sold over 220,000 units or books this year so far, in 6 months. 220,000 units. And that's a 25.7%. I know I should have rounded up. We just had this conversation. increase over this same time period last year. Super secret data, by the way. That's a big number. What kind of book should I make? How many of you are thinking that while we're talking right now? What kind of book would I make? Now, nobody wants to be honest. Damn. All right. Well, this is the easy part. You can start with what's in front of you. I'm assuming everybody in here has created some sort of content, right? Whether it's a macaroni picture of a rainbow or, she's probably got a ton of it since she's got 3 streams of revenue or more. But so again, talk to her if you don't have anything. Sorry, I'm not going to pick on you anymore. But this is all stuff that makes great content for a book. We see it time and time again come through Lulu all the time. This is great stuff. If you've got top performing blog posts and articles, that's a no-brainer. It's already written. We have templates you can download, and so do other sites. You don't have to use us. I'd prefer you did, but it's so easy. It's there. So just go into your Blogger user interface, find out which were your best top 5 performing ones. Boom. There's 5 sections for a book right there. It's that simple. Top performing social content. Another great way to generate content for a book. Repurpose content. Most viewed YouTube videos. Another one we see all the time. Or we talk to people at events. I don't know how to make a book. I just make YouTube videos. Well, what do you make YouTube videos on? Gaming. All right, well, let's talk about gaming. You could fill 100 pages about gaming. That's all you need to make a decent book. It's not that hard, honestly. Photography and artwork. This is an easy one. We love to see artists, photographers, people. I mean, your problem is going to be narrowing down what you're going to put in a book, right? Online course materials is probably one of the hottest things right now. A lot of people out here maybe already do online courses and create online courses, or you've met or known other creators that do. That's where your revenue's coming from, isn't it? She's shaking her head wildly. Yep. See, this is you. Take that material and turn it into a supplemental workbook, right? Or a spin-off from your course. A double click into what they just learned in your course is now some of that material or an expansion of that material in the form of a book. You just created another passive stream of revenue. Newsletters, the other really hot thing right now, right? If you're providing a newsletter service to people and you are doing your best to fill it to the brim with valuable content, there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't turn that into a book or multiple books. And I promise you, if you have any fans at all, and if you're doing newsletters, that's easy. Your fans are the ones that are actually opening the newsletter and potentially clicking. They will buy a book from you, absolutely. They're finding the value in your content, so any more content you put out, they're going to scramble to get it. It's all about the value you're providing. Podcasts, again, same thing. Take the transcripts from your podcasts, whether they're interviews or just you ranting on the microphone for 45 minutes about, how shitty the crypto market is. It doesn't matter. Take the transcript, turn it into a book. It's that simple. If you've got fans, they'll buy it, 100%. And it's that tangible thing that's now in their hands. They feel more connected to you, right? So now we got an idea of how we can sort of repurpose what we're doing. And we could talk about this, me and my team, all day, every day. So if you want to talk about that further after this, we're more than happy to. Because I know somebody's out there going, no, not my content. You're wrong. We can figure it out, trust me. All right, what type of book? You want to think about the format that'll suit your content, right? So again, if you are a photographer, maybe you're out here taking pictures of all these beautiful mountains in Idaho, or there's a lot of tractors around here. Maybe you're taking pictures of tractors, or well, you're not going to want to do a standard 6x9 trade paperback size book. It makes no sense. You're going to want to do something where you can fill it full of really beautiful, premium color quality photos on a nice thick paper, right? So you need to think about your content first, but then think about your audience. So again, we'll stick with that. I've got a photo book, or I'm assembling a book of, let's say, as the photographer, these are my top 50 favorite photos I took from, my quarantine in 2020. I guarantee you, if I have at least 100 to 1,000 fans, and I start leaking that I'm going to be putting this book together, they're all dying to get it. I mean, unless you're just the worst photographer in the world, and even then, there's probably value in that too, as a coffee table book for people to go, God, look at this shit. And as a self-publishing company, you should see the stuff we stock our library with. Because we get all the returns and the rejections, or somebody ordered it and they get it and they're like, nope. It comes back to us. So yeah, I mean, either way, if you're great or terrible, you can still do a really good book that people will find value in. All right, so standard paperbacks, hardcovers, magazines. Magazines are really popular again all of a sudden, right? Because again, ebooks suck. People don't want to read a magazine on their tablet. They want a magazine in their hands, you know? Magazines are really quick, easy, cool ways to just put a little bit of content in there, make it look really good, get it out there, and then you can do it monthly. People love that. Boom, now all of a sudden you've got a subscription service in the form of magazines. Cookbooks are super popular. Workbooks, again, we talked about manuals. Calendars is a great one. So no matter what your content of choice is, if you've got some fans, every year you can do a new calendar. They'll buy it, I promise. We see some of the worst calendar projects come through and people buy them like crazy. Like crazy. Journals, notebooks, planners. This is what we call low or no content books. Meaning, you know, you buy a journal or a notebook, oftentimes it's just blank. It's for you to, so not that the content's garbage, it's just low or no. And in fact, this has become so big right now that some of our top selling creators that use our Shopify or WordPress plugins, things like that, they're just selling notebooks, journals, planners like crazy. It's insane. People really like to write, believe it or not. So, comics and graphic novels, yep, you can make those too. We've seen some really cool ones, and again, some really, really bad ones. Inappropriately bad, like we should probably think about where we're going to start drawing the line on those. So, some people are probably still like, oh, I don't know about this book stuff. Maybe I should go check one of these other rooms out. That's fine. Here's an experiment you can do. So, on our site, we will actually give you blank interiors for low to no content books for free. You could actually take this and go to one of our competitors too. Don't tell my boss I said that, but, oh, is this being recorded? Shit. Nonetheless, we're going to give you the interior file if you want to try this out. All you got to do is create a cover. And covers for spiral bound books are super easy. Super easy. I bet anybody in this room could make a really cool cover for one of these styles of notebooks and test it out. If you've got a pretty decent amount of fans on your platform, try it out. See what happens. If nothing else, you'll be able to say, well, I tried it. Maybe I'll come back to this another time when I can add more value or create better content. People love these right now, though. Some of your fans might love one that's branded from you or that has your content. You can take these files, by the way, and then interlace your content in there if you want. Make it your own. It's that simple. And you can get these right off of our site. So this is a cool experiment. It's an easy way for you to sort of dip your toes in the water. And it's a great entry point to try this with your fans and followers. Because they're so inexpensive for you to get through us at wholesale, you can sell them very inexpensively to your fans and followers. So what does all of this look like? We talked about community, the importance of building community, getting to a place where you can start owning everything about your content business. We talked about the importance of increasing the amount of revenue that you have coming in, right? So adding more streams of passive or active revenue. We talked about how books can help you do that. What does that look like? I'm going to show you some examples of users on Lulu that have been doing a really good job of taking all of that and using it to build their communities. Most of the ones that I have up here, while I can't share the numbers with you, are doing a lot of revenue. So it's not passive streams of revenue for them, it's very active. Some of them started as passive and then just caught that windfall or did some really good marketing and communications work. Some out of the gate, they just had already built their audience. They had turned a lot of followers into fans. They'd added a lot of value. So the minute they said, hey, I've got this book dropping, they didn't have to ask twice. I mean, out of the gate, Clever Girl Finance. Thousands of orders coming through in the first day. This is a really cool brand, woman-owned. It's all about personal finance for women. They have a great message. They add value on a lot of the content they put out on all their channels. I kind of stay on Instagram, so all these are going to be Instagram. I wanted to add Facebook, by the way, to that other slide with Vine, but my team wouldn't let me. So, but I mean, come on. Clever Girl Finance. So it's financial content, personal finance content, right? That one's a little easier, right? You're like, oh yeah, you can make books out of that stuff, no big deal. So I get it, all right, but still, nonetheless, great stuff. They do some journals and notebooks as well to go with their courses. So they do courses, personal finance courses for women. And they have a great mission. Our mission is to empower women to achieve financial success. Really cool brand, doing really cool things, adding value out there, not just a bunch of white noise, and creating passive streams of revenue along the way. This one, does anybody know who this is? Anybody seen his TikToks or anything? I should have put his TikTok up here. This is insane. His TikTok is even crazier. Yeah, 4.7 million. He literally just talks about plants and gardening, like how to grow coconut trees better, or, you know, if your plants died, how to bring it back to life. Did you know that you can take aspirin, dissolve it in some hot water, mix that into a gallon of water, and spray it on your plants, and it'll kill like bugs and fungus and shit? Like, that's what that book is. That's his passion. So if you go watch his TikTok videos, they're amazing. He has a ton of energy, but it is all gardening and plants, 100%. His story's really cool too. He basically had a bunch of fans telling him, it's really hard to get a good idea of what I should be doing just from your TikToks, right? Because we're talking 30, 60-second clips. They're really entertaining, but the actionable takeaways are really hard to extract. His fans wanted him to write a book, so he figured he'd try it out. He spent 3 months writing and designing this book, by the way, which, you know, again, if you're good, or if you've got the time, or you're dedicated, you can bang out a really nice book in a couple of months, maybe even less, actually. On average, though, to do a really good book, you're talking 6 to 12 months. In December, he puts it out there. In 2 weeks, 500 people had purchased it. Within another 2 weeks, he was already up to 3,000 units. Within the first 3 months, he had sold 10,000 copies. That was solely because he had a community of fans. That's it. He didn't have a massive marketing budget. He didn't buy thousands of dollars of Instagram ads, Facebook ads, well, Facebook's dead, but Twitter ads, none of that stuff. He wasn't buying paid search ads, display, none of that. Not even any organic SEO, really. I mean, his site was okay, but 10,000 copies. Now, without putting his business out there, it's about a $20 book. You do the math. He's a full-time creator now. But they jumped at the chance to support him. That's the message. He spent the time, he added the value, he built a community, he turned followers into fans and created revenue from that. Revenue that felt good, by the way, right? So he didn't just go and like design some janky-ass t-shirt, plug into a print-on-demand t-shirt provider and say, hey, go buy my t-shirt, and pick up a water bottle and a beach towel and a... This is the product that creates value for people. They were asking him for it. Crafting content, right? This is my first time in Boise. It's beautiful. But I actually have an aunt and uncle that live here. I've never visited them. Don't look at me like that. And I like them. They're great. So thankfully, they come our way a lot. And I also got my love of Disney from them, by the way. My aunt creates quilts and has done so like ever since I can remember. Really cool quilts too. Like, you know, she'll put family photographs and stuff in there. And like, I had a bunch of t-shirts that I outgrew because I like burritos. And so she would take the t-shirts and cut out the cool parts and make me a quilt from them. All this cool stuff. If we'd had these things back in the 80s, late 70s, I don't want to date her too much, but early 90s, she could have retired early and just talked to people about how to create these amazing quilts. Sweet Red Poppy. It's a lot of crafting, quilting, whatever these Cricut machines are. What is it? A sticker? What do you do? Laser printer. Yeah, she does that. She sells a lot of books, by the way. Her YouTube following and some of her other channels are actually even more impressive, but that's not the point. The point is she has convinced her followers that what she's giving with them, what she's sharing with them is of value, and they see that. They're fans now. So when she comes out with her first books, full of patterns or, again, cricket, joy, whatever that might be, boom, within months, thousands of copies being sold. And again, you can do the math. The tools that we have now, like we talked about, what you have at your disposal in 2022 is absolutely amazing. There's no reason why there should be creators struggling right now or years from now because of lack of tools or platforms or ways that you can do these types of things. Tika the Iggy. I threw this one in here because the one thing we haven't really spent any time talking about, I touched on it briefly, again, is calendars. Like, it's a foreign concept to me because I don't look at a paper calendar. I mean, I won't actually look at my work calendar until I get in that morning. Like, I don't want to see it the night before. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to see it 3 days before. Birthdays pop up in my phone. To me, it's odd that people use paper calendars, but they do, like crazy. Tika the Iggy is a fashion model and a gay icon from Montreal. 1.1 million followers at this point on Instagram. And Lizzo, everybody knows who Lizzo is? Yeah? Okay. You're the one that didn't read a book, right? Oh, okay. All right. Well, you just made up for it because you know who Lizzo is. Lizzo said that Tika the Iggy is an actual bad bitch. So that's her claim to fame. I'm pretty sure she gained like 50,000 followers just off that. Right? They do a calendar every year. It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's cool though. And they sell a ton of them, like a metric ton of them. Yeah, I don't know. I guess she's cute. We getting the picture here? Any kind of content, even fashion models from Canada, can be turned into tangible, printable, physical books and calendars, create more connection, build passive streams of revenue that will help you focus on creating more content of value. When you have these passive streams of revenue coming in, that's your key to independence. And you have to be able to spend more time creating more valuable content without stressing so much about that next utility bill that has to be paid, or, you know, I've got to pay for this, or how am I going to do this? The next one I'm going to show you is a really cool story. You guys actually all in your swag bags, besides our notebook, got a copy of his book, Darren Smith. We first met Darren a month and a half ago, something like that, in Arizona at another creator expo. Well, it's called Creator Economy Expo, as a matter of fact. It's the first year for us, put on by Joe Polizzi of The Tilt. It was an amazing event. Nonetheless, we just happened to run into Darren there, doing the same thing, sharing his book with people for free. Darren has a pretty cool story. The way that he wrote that book, I say cool, it's terrifying to me, and I'll let him talk to you about that. Nonetheless, Darren's content is more entrepreneurial in nature. He loves to talk to creators about how to increase their streams of revenue, how to make money from your content, how to adopt that business mindset and really get into that position where you can make this a full-time venture. His website, Craftsman Creative, a lot of online courses, a great blog, again, diversifying streams of content, which then turn into a newsletter, podcasts, and then the book, right? So it's kind of a natural sort of progression. And Darren's story of why he created that book is a really interesting one too, and I think we're seeing more of that. And I think for you guys, that's a really, really important piece of Darren's journey that I think a lot of you, it'll resonate with you, and I think it's something that a lot of you could probably sort of plug into your journey as you're moving along this path of being a full-time creator. So again, you guys got a copy of this book, so thanks, Darren. Darren, do I have a typo here?
No, thank goodness.
Okay. You did catch it in your book, though, right? Darren's book is a great book. And, we could talk about these things offline. I know people have more questions about creating books and what they should do, but there's a lot of key things you need to do on a book for people to even pick it up and look at it, right? Books get judged by their covers. That old cliche is bullshit. You can judge a book by its cover, and you should. If the cover is garbage, 9 times out of 10, the content is garbage. Darren designed a beautiful book. The contents of this book are amazing. I'm going to stop talking about it, though. I'm going to let Darren come up and talk about his book. We're really excited that Darren's here to kind of give you guys sort of a live case study about how Darren came to decide he wanted to create a book, what he's been doing with that book, and what he's been able to achieve so far with his creative journey with that book. So I'm going to turn it over to Darren for a few minutes. So everybody give a round of applause for Darren Smith.
Holy cow. You all just experienced something magical that just happened. You may not know what it is yet, but in like 5 minutes, you're going to understand what just happened just now. So if you saw that slide he put up with my very impressive follower numbers, you saw that I have 1,850 followers right now. That was like 2 days ago. So how many of you have more followers than I do in this room? On any platform, your email list, put them up. Look at this. 90% of the room has more followers than me. So I'm really excited to share my story because I don't have 1.1 million followers. I'm not a gay fashion icon. I don't come from Montreal. I come from Provo, Utah. So how many of you in the last year or 5 or 10 years have done something to try to grow your audience? How about, have you done something to try to grow your revenue? Everyone in this room. That's why we're here, right? So my story starts in 2013. I read this ebook by a certain gentleman named Nathan Barry called Authority, which is about how to write books for fun and profit, basically. I read that book, got inspired. 3 months later, I published my very first ebook called the Indie Film Sound Guide, because my background is in sound and film. And what was really cool about that is I wrote the book, and then Nathan was like, hey, anyone who read my book, I'm putting out a hardcover, and I'd love to include some case studies. I think I made like $1,200 selling that book. But I told Nathan that I made $1,200, and he put me as a case study in the back of the hard print of Authority. I have a signed copy at my house. That was 2013, so nearly 10 years ago. And look how many followers I have now. So I've been at this for a long time and was not very successful in that part of the creator economy or that part of my business. I spent most of my career working in film and television, and I produced movies. And it wasn't until last year where I realized, man, I need some diversified revenue streams. I need more than one way to make money here. And I had been living in and part of the creator economy for nearly a decade and had never really tried my hand at it. So, over those years, I had done a lot of things. I tried a podcast. I started a blog. I started a newsletter. I tried my hand at a paid newsletter, and like 4 people signed up, and I was super excited. Does this resonate with anybody? You've tried multiple revenue streams all at the same time, thinking that's the way to do it? Well, it didn't really work for me. I tried, and I never grew an audience. I never grew any meaningful revenue from any of those projects. So what happened last year that changed everything? I wrote a book. And I did it uniquely. As Matt said, I wrote the book in public. So what I did was I went on Twitter and I said, hey, everybody, I'm writing a book, and I'm going to publish the chapters as I write them, and I'm going to give you daily updates of the progress of how I'm writing a book. So on some days, I would write a chapter, which was essentially a blog post. So going back to what Matt said, anyone can do this. If you're writing 1,000 or 1,500 words as a blog post or a newsletter, just put it in a different context and call it a chapter of a book, and 30 or 40 blog posts later, you have a book, right? So that's all I did. For 3 months, I every day showed up. I either wrote a tweet about, here's what I did today, I called an editor, or I talked with somebody, or I joined this community, or I read this book, or hey, here's a new chapter. And 3 months later, I had a book. But I also had a ton of new opportunities. within the first 3 months of writing the book, before I announced that it was on sale, before I tried pre-selling, before any of that happened, I had nearly doubled my email list because I created a new little segment and I put a little form on the website and I said, if you want to follow along, go ahead and put in your email. And hundreds of people signed up. All of a sudden, people with very large followings, 18, 20, 50, 100,000 followers or email subscribers were grabbing my content and putting it into their newsletters or retweeting it and sharing it with their audiences. So all of a sudden, I had much more awareness and distribution for my content. When I did open up, like, here's how you can buy this thing, I opened up an early access opportunity for people to get a signed copy of the book, to get early access to the manuscript and be like a beta reader, and they could join my community. I didn't think I was going to start a community, but I had people resonating with the content so much that I wanted to keep having those conversations, so I said, hey, I'll try my hand at a community. I pre-sold 25 of those, which equated to like $2,000 in revenue before the book was even released, before it wasn't even a pre-order. I just said early access, $2,000. Well, I hadn't made that in years of time the old way, right? So I announced that the book's coming out and I tell people it's going to happen, and I pay to print copies and I bring them to Creator Economy Expo. And this is the magical thing that you just experienced at the beginning here. What happened when I created a book was I created opportunities. And now I'm standing on stage at Craft and Commerce in Boise, Idaho, which is a stage you can't submit to get on. I tried. I messaged Nathan and said, hey, remember me? I was in your book in 2013. He said, yeah, we don't really take submissions to be on stage at Craft and Commerce. Showed him. So here's what happened. I met them, and then they found out I was going to be here. Not only did he invite me to come on stage and share my story, but they actually printed the copies that are in your bags when you showed up here. I didn't have to do it out of pocket. And the amount of the people that I've been able to talk to, the opportunities that have come from putting a book out into the world. Yes, I've made hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars at this point by selling the book, but like you saw, my audience is 1,850 people. I haven't sold 10,000 copies. I've sold about 100. But the opportunities that are created when you take the step to write a book, to put your content out in the world in that way, it's a business card on steroids, just like Matt said. The opportunities that are created are the reason to do it. Whatever stage in your business you're at, that's why to do it. And I highly, highly recommend and actually plead and beg with you to write your book, not just for the opportunities that you're going to create for yourself, but because you can actually dramatically help people and change their lives through the stuff that you put out into the world as a creator. So that's my story. Thanks for the few minutes to share it. I'm excited to chat with all of you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. My plan worked. We're almost out of time. Just kidding, Darren. That wasn't my plan. I'll go through the rest of this pretty quick, because I don't know about you, but I'd rather end on Darren's story, to be honest with you. Darren's story, like I said, is unique, though, because he uses his book to create more opportunities for his other content, for his other channels, for his online courses, for his website, for all the other things that he does that are, I think probably even more valuable in the end. So it's a great tool to be used. All right, how will I sell my books? We'll go through this pretty quick because this is also kind of the yucky sales pitch side of things, right? Obviously, we want you to sell them direct through your own website. That's how you, again, own everything from start to finish, right? You create your content, you upload it, you keep all the revenue. It's a pretty simple process. Again, we can talk more about it afterwards at our booth, but selling direct, using e-commerce tools, platforms, owning that whole relationship, keeping that customer data, not giving it to Amazon or whoever else you might use to distribute your content. That's the name of the game. To put it more directly, pun intended, funny, let's move on past that piece. Lulu Direct enables authors, creators, direct-to-consumer sales, print on demand. We make fulfillment easier for you. At the end of the day, it doesn't do you any good as a creator if you're wasting hours shipping books out to people, dealing with the issues of the print, maybe something's not quite right, working back and forth with your distributor. We take all of that off your shoulders, right? The minute you upload your book to Lulu and plug it into whatever platforms you want to use, you just sell. That's it. We print and ship. It's all white labeled. It doesn't say Lulu on it. It comes from whatever your brand is. So we try to take all that off your shoulders. You can also sell it on our bookstore, where we will take a cut, obviously. It's a small one. It's not like Amazon, but nonetheless, you'll get 80% of the revenue. We'll take 20. Still not a bad deal if you don't have a website or you haven't built one yet or you're working towards it, you need a temporary place to sell your book, plus the discoverability aspect of it. So we get quite a few visitors and page views on our online bookstore. It's been around for almost 20 years, so you can imagine. And then global distribution. If you do want to do all these things, if you do want to make those crappy ebooks we talked about like Darren did in his very beginning of his journey, and we can get those into all the major distributors, right? Apple Books, Ingram, Kobo. So you can basically get your book to anywhere on the planet using Lulu in any way you want to do it. That's the sales pitch. Made it quick. You're welcome. Somebody's really excited. Oh, I see you. We talked to you earlier. Okay. She's a publisher, by the way, so she knows the pains and struggles of creating books, multiple books. How can I get started? I'm going to make this really easy too. We did have a bunch of slides about how to do this and that. We'd rather talk to you about that today or at some other time, but it's very simple. Go to our website, start clicking around. There are so many good resources on the website. We offer tons of free downloads for templates, tons of free resources on how to do everything from creating that book to what types of formats you should pick, everything you need to know to get that thing started and completed and out there in the world into people's hands providing value. So again, if you want to do a double click or talk deeper about it, we'll be out there at our booth. We're happy to talk to anybody. We're all book nerds, by the way, not just me. I told James to say whatever she wanted about me. This is the cool part. Books are a great opportunity for collaboration. Again, we've talked about that. Some of you may not be designers or artists. You may stick to creating entrepreneurial types of content or finance content. We saw an example of personal finance. Reach out to a creator that maybe you met here that is a designer, 3 weeks from now. Say, hey, I'm working on a book project. I'd love to work with you. Maybe you do the cover and a few illustrations, and maybe there's an opportunity for me to do something for you later on. You'd be amazed at how many people will be like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. When and where? What do you want? Let's talk about this. This is a great way, depending on the size of your project, especially for those of you who are like me, extremely introverted. You don't like talking to people. This is easy. Hey, I have this project. Let's work together, right? Lastly, again, a ton of free resources. Check out our blog, Lulu University on YouTube. We spend way too much time nerding out over our video content on YouTube. If you actually look at it, you'll see you will become very familiar with our YouTube personality. Her name is Chelsea. She has a very unhealthy affinity for her cat named Batman, which is, I guess, respectable. That's it. Thanks.